The Diplomat's Mask. The crystalline spires of the Dominion pierced the inky void of space like frozen lightning, their impossible geometry a testament to the Galactic Empire's technological supremacy. Within its labyrinthine corridors, Jonah Smith walked with measured steps, his diplomatic attaché case a stark contrast to the organic architecture surrounding him. Each step echoed with precision, matching the steady rhythm of his heartbeat, a rhythm he'd learned to control during his years as Earth's most effective shadow operative. The summons had come 3 standard weeks ago. The Empire, in its infinite arrogance, had demanded Earth's presence to discuss terms of cooperation. The underlying threat was clear: submit or face annihilation. Earth's Council of Nations had chosen Jonah for this mission, not for his diplomatic credentials, which were impeccable, if artificially constructed, but for what lay beneath the polished exterior. Before he was Diplomat Jonah Smith, he had been Ghost. Before he carried briefings, he had carried a different kind of payload. 23 successful wetwork operations, each one officially denied, each one crucial to humanity's survival in a hostile galaxy. Now, standing in the heart of the Empire's flagship, he was both personas at once, the diplomat and the assassin, the peacemaker and the blade in the dark. Diplomat Smith. The voice came from behind him, dripping with artificial courtesy. The council awaits. Jonah turned to face Admiral Zorth, the Empire's most decorated military commander. The alien stood nearly 8 feet tall, his scaled silver skin reflecting the ambient light in mesmerizing patterns. Yellow eyes, evolved for hunting in the deep oceans of his homeworld, studied Jonah with predatory interest. Admiral, Jonah replied, inclining his head with perfect diplomatic precision. I trust the Council is eager to begin our discussions. Zortha's facial tentacles twitched, a sign of amusement or perhaps contempt. Oh, yes. We have much to discuss. The Council chamber was a testament to Imperial engineering, a vast amphitheater suspended in what appeared to be a bubble of solid space. The stars beyond the transparent walls seemed close enough to touch, though Jonah knew the view was likely artificial. 12 members of the Imperial High Council sat in ascending tiers, their diverse physiologies a reminder of how many species had already fallen under Empire control. As Jonah took his position at the center of the chamber, he activated the subdermal implant behind his left ear, a quantum recorder that would transmit everything he saw and heard back to Earth through channels even the Empire couldn't detect. If things went wrong, Earth would know why. Diplomat Smith, first speaker Kthara began, her crystalline form refracting light in complex patterns. We have observed Earth's development with great interest. Your species has shown remarkable resilience. Thank you, first speaker, Jonah replied, his voice carrying easily through the chamber. Earth values its independence and its ability to chart its own course through the stars. Independence, Admiral Zorth interrupted, moving to stand beside his seat in the second tier. A quaint concept. The galaxy is changing, Diplomat Smith. The age of individual worlds pursuing their own destinies is over. The Empire brings order, stability, progress. Jonah allowed himself a small smile, one that didn't reach his eyes. Progress without choice is merely imposed change, Admiral. Earth understands the benefits of cooperation, but we believe true advancement comes through mutual respect and voluntary partnership. A murmur rippled through the council. Such direct challenge to imperial rhetoric was rare, especially from a representative of a non-aligned world. Jonah noted the reactions, cataloging each council member's response. The information could prove valuable later, assuming there was a later. First speaker Kthara's crystalline surface darkened slightly. You speak of choice, Diplomat Smith, yet Earth's actions suggest a different attitude. Your world has been developing technologies that concern us. Military applications that exceed the normal requirements of planetary defense. With respect, first speaker, Earth's technological development is focused on protecting our sovereignty, not threatening others. We have honored every provision of the Galactic Concordat regarding weapons development. Admiral Zortha's laugh was like grinding metal. The Concordat? You cite laws written by those who now bow to imperial wisdom. Earth stands alone, Diplomat Smith. Alone and vulnerable. The threat hung in the air like poison gas. Jonah maintained his diplomatic smile, but his mind was already racing through scenarios. The tension in the chamber, the positioning of the guards, the subtle signals between council members, this wasn't a negotiation. It was theater, a prelude to something else. Perhaps, Jonah suggested, we should discuss specific concerns. Earth is willing to establish joint monitoring protocols, to demonstrate our commitment to peaceful coexistence. First Speaker Kthara raised a crystalline appendage. A reasonable proposal. Admiral Zorth will oversee the details of such arrangements. For now, you will be shown to your quarters. We will reconvene when certain preparations are complete. As Jonah was escorted from the chamber by a pair of Imperial guards, he felt the weight of every alien gaze upon him. They thought they were watching a diplomat retreat to contemplate their power. Instead, they were watching a predator memorize their faces, catalog their weaknesses, and plan for contingencies they couldn't imagine. In his quarters, Jonah activated a series of countermeasures hidden in his diplomatic accessories. Quantum scramblers to defeat surveillance, nanosensors to detect atmospheric changes, and a neural link to the ship's information network, courtesy of Earth's best cyber warfare specialists. The data began flowing immediately. Troop movements throughout the ship. Communications between the council members. And most importantly, weapons being prepared in the lower levels, weapons that shouldn't exist on a diplomatic vessel. Jonah's comm unit chimed softly. A message from Earth, encoded in bursts of static that would appear as background radiation to Imperial sensors. Ghost. Council confirms hostile intent. Asset preservation authorized. Contingency Omega in effect. Jonah's expression didn't change as he processed the message. Contingency Omega, total operational freedom with one objective, survive and ensure Earth's security, by any means necessary. The diplomat's mask could come off. Ghost could emerge. He began unpacking his case, fingers finding hidden catches and compartments. Within moments, the tools of his true trade lay before him, monomolecular filaments that could slice through Imperial armor, neurotoxins calibrated for a dozen different species, and quantum disruptors that could turn the Empire's advanced technology against itself. A soft chime announced someone at his door. Through the neural link, he identified Admiral Zorth, accompanied by 4 guards. Show time. Enter, Jonah called, his diplomatic smile already in place. The tools of death vanished beneath his formal attire as smoothly as a sword sliding into its sheath. The door hissed open, and Admiral Zorth's massive frame filled the entrance. Diplomat Smith, he said, yellow eyes gleaming. I hope you're finding your accommodations satisfactory. Quite comfortable, Admiral, Jonah replied, noting the guards' positions, their weapon status, the subtle signs of combat readiness. Though I admit, I'm surprised to receive such a late visit. Zorth's facial tentacles writhed with barely contained anticipation. The Empire never sleeps, Diplomat Smith. And we have much to discuss about Earth's future. Shall we walk? Jonah stood, straightening his formal jacket. Of course, Admiral. After you. As they left the quarters, Jonah activated the neural link's combat protocols. Schematics of the ship overlaid his vision, marking escape routes, weapons caches, and structural weaknesses. The Empire was about to learn the cost of mistaking a wolf for a sheep, a blade for a pen. The game was beginning, and Jonah Smith, diplomat, assassin, humanity's hidden guardian, was ready to play. Shadows of intent. The corridors of the Dominion stretched before Jonah and Admiral Zorth like the inside of some vast serpent, organic curves blending seamlessly with advanced technology. The guards maintained a respectful distance, but their weapons remained at ready positions. Through his neural link, Jonah detected increased security activity throughout the ship, subtle movements that would have been invisible to normal diplomatic channels. You know, Zorth said, his voice echoing slightly in the curved passage, I've studied Earth's history extensively. Such a fascinating pattern of violence and peace, advancement and regression. Your species seems unable to decide whether it wants to create or destroy. Perhaps we simply understand that both have their place, Jonah replied, noting how their path took them deeper into the ship, away from the diplomatic sectors. Creation without the ability to defend it is merely building castles for others to claim. Zortha's laugh held no humor. Philosophical and practical. Rare combination in a diplomat. They entered a vast chamber that Jonah's neural link identified as a restricted military section, definitely not part of the standard diplomatic tour. Holographic displays filled the air with cascading data, and uniformed personnel moved with purposeful efficiency. At the center stood a massive tactical table, its surface alive with what appeared to be real-time military deployments. Tell me, Diplomat Smith, Zorth said, gesturing to the tactical display, what do you see? Jonah studied the holographic map, his enhanced vision picking out details that would have been missed by normal human sight. Fleet movements, resource allocations, strike trajectories, all centered around a particular sector of space. Earth sector. I see an empire preparing for war, he said quietly, though I'm curious why you'd show this to a diplomatic representative. Zortha's facial tentacles writhed with something approaching satisfaction. Because, Diplomat Smith, you are not here to negotiate. You are here to witness. The tactical display shifted, revealing dozens of Imperial warships moving into position around Earth's solar system. The deployment was already underway, hidden behind diplomatic smokescreens and false sensor readings. The Empire has grown tired of Earth's resistance, Zorth continued. Your world's potential is too great to be left unchecked. We had hoped you would accept our guidance willingly, but now. He gestured at the display. Now we must be more direct. Jonah's expression remained neutral, but his mind was racing. Through his neural link, he was already transmitting encrypted data back to Earth, fleet positions, weapons capabilities, tactical vulnerabilities. Every second of conversation was buying time for Earth's defenses to prepare. And my presence here? Jonah asked, though he already knew the answer. Insurance, Zorth replied. Earth's leadership values its people, especially its diplomats. Your presence aboard the Dominion ensures they will think carefully before taking any rash actions. A hostage, then. But not just any hostage, a high-value diplomatic prisoner whose capture would justify immediate military action. The Empire had orchestrated this perfectly, or so they thought. There's something you should understand about Earth, Admiral, Jonah said, his voice taking on a harder edge. We've learned from history. From all those patterns of violence and peace you mentioned. The first alarm klaxons began to sound before he finished speaking. Red emergency lights bathed the chamber in crimson as reports flooded in from multiple sectors of the ship. Through his neural link, Jonah watched the chaos unfold with satisfaction. The quantum viruses he'd released through the ship's network were wreaking havoc with Imperial systems. Life support fluctuated in non-essential areas. Security barriers activated randomly, trapping crews in their sections. And most importantly, the tactical network carrying orders to the invasion fleet began to fragment. Zortha's yellow eyes widened as he realized what was happening. What have you done? He snarled, reaching for his sidearm. Jonah moved before the Admiral's hand touched his weapon. 20 years of wet work operations compressed into a fraction of a second. The nearest guard's weapon was in his hands before anyone registered movement. The other guards fell to precisely placed shots before they could raise their weapons. Like I said, Jonah replied, the diplomat's mask falling away completely, we've learned from history. Never send a real diplomat to a fake negotiation. Zorth lunged forward, his massive frame powered by cybernetically enhanced muscles. But Jonah had fought enhanced opponents before. He rolled under the Admiral's grasp, coming up with a monomolecular wire that sliced through the alien cybernetic arm like it was mist. The admiral's roar of pain and rage echoed through the chamber as chaos erupted around them. Security teams would be converging on their position, but they would find their communications scrambled, they're confused by corrupted NAV systems. Earth sends its regards, Jonah said, his voice cold as space itself. And a message, we're not as defenseless as you thought. The tactical display flickered and died as primary power failed throughout the section. In the emergency lighting, Jonah's shadow seemed to stretch and multiply, becoming something more than human, something that had haunted the nightmares of a dozen worlds. You have no idea what you're starting, Zorth growled, cradling his severed arm. The Empire will reduce Earth to ash for this. No, Jonah replied, activating the second phase of his attack through the neural link. Throughout the ship, carefully planted quantum charges began to detonate. Not enough to destroy the Dominion, that would come later, but enough to throw the entire vessel into chaos. The Empire will learn what humanity does to those who threaten our world. As alarms screamed and explosion rumbled through the ship's superstructure, Jonah Smith, Ghost, Assassin, Earth's hidden blade, began the next phase of his mission. The Empire had wanted to make an example of Earth. Instead, they would become the example. The real war was about to begin, and humanity's deadliest operative was already behind enemy lines. Ghost Protocol. Smoke filled the corridors of the Dominion as Jonah moved like a shadow through the chaos he'd created. The ship's emergency systems struggled to compensate for the cascade of failures he'd initiated, creating a perfect storm of confusion and panic. Through his neural link, he watched the Empire's mighty flagship tear itself apart from the inside. But he wasn't done. Not by half. The quantum recorder behind his ear hummed as it transmitted crucial military intelligence back to Earth. Fleet positions, weapon specifications, command protocols, everything the Empire had foolishly revealed in their arrogance. Each bit of data was another nail in their invasion's coffin. Security breach in Section 7. The announcement echoed through the corridors in multiple alien languages. All personnel, be advised, human diplomatic representative is to be considered armed and extremely dangerous. Jonah allowed himself a grim smile as he ducked into a maintenance shaft. They had no idea just how dangerous. His neural link connected with the ship's security network, feeding him real-time updates on the Empire's response to his actions. They were organizing search parties, sealing off sections, trying to trap him. Standard protocol for a rogue diplomat. Useless against a ghost. The maintenance shaft led him deeper into the ship's core systems. His enhanced vision picked out the subtle signs of hidden security measures, quantum fields, motion sensors, genetic scanners. All top-of-the-line Imperial technology. All useless against the countermeasures woven into his diplomatic attire. His comm unit crackled with an encrypted burst from Earth Command, Ghost, primary objective updated. Intel confirms Dominion carrying prototype planet killer weapon. Locate and neutralize. Secondary objective remains, ensure Earth's defense networks receive full tactical data. A planet killer. The Empire's ultimate insurance policy. No wonder they'd been so confident in their negotiations. Through his neural link, Jonah accessed the ship's classified weapons registers, searching for anything that matched Earth's intelligence. The data pointed to a heavily secured research sector near the ship's core. Getting there would mean fighting through the heart of Imperial security. Perfect. Jonah checked his remaining equipment. The monomolecular wire had served its purpose against Zorth, but he still had an arsenal of other tools. Quantum disruptors, neural scramblers, and his personal favorite, a set of nanite injectors that could turn the Empire's own cybernetic enhancements against them. A squad of Imperial guards rushed past his position, their heavy boots thundering on the deck plates. Through the maintenance shaft's grating, Jonah watched them pass, noting their formations and equipment. Standard Imperial shock troops, augmented with the latest combat enhancements. They were searching methodically, professionally. They were also looking for a diplomat trying to escape. Not a predator moving deeper into their territory. Once the squad passed, Jonah emerged from the shaft, his movements fluid and silent. The neural link provided him with a real-time map of the ship's security patterns, showing him gaps and blind spots in their coverage. He moved through these shadows like a ghost, each step bringing him closer to his target. "Admiral Zorth to all security teams," a familiar voice growled over the ship's comm system. "The human must not reach the research sector. Authorization granted for lethal force. Repeat, lethal force authorized." So, Zorth had survived their encounter. The Admiral's voice was strained, likely still dealing with the loss of his cybernetic arm. Good. An angry opponent was a predictable opponent. Jonah reached a sealed security door, its control panel glowing with Imperial encryption protocols. Through his neural link, he launched a specialized virus, one of many gifts from Earth's Cyber Warfare Division. The encryption fought back, its quantum algorithms adapting and evolving. But this wasn't the first time Ghost had cracked Imperial security. The virus mutated, evolved, found weaknesses in the quantum lattice. Within seconds, the door slid open with a soft hiss. Beyond lay a laboratory complex that seemed to stretch forever, filled with equipment that would make Earth's best scientists weep with envy. And at its center, suspended in a containment field that distorted the very fabric of space around it, hung what could only be the planet killer prototype. It was beautiful, in a terrifying way. A sphere of impossible geometries, its surface shifting and flowing like liquid metal. Even from here, Jonah's enhanced senses could detect the raw power emanating from the device. "Impressive, isn't it?" The voice came from behind him. Jonah turned slowly, already knowing what he would find. Admiral Zorth stood at the entrance to the lab, surrounded by a full squad of elite guards. His severed cybernetic arm had been replaced with a crude but functional combat prosthetic. "A quantum singularity weapon," Zorth continued, his yellow eyes blazing with a mixture of pride and hatred. "Capable of collapsing a planet's core from orbit. Earth would have been our first test subject." "Would have been?" Jonah asked, his hands loose at his sides, ready to move. "You've proven that your species is too dangerous to be allowed any chance of survival." Zortha's new arm raised, revealing an integrated plasma cannon. "The Empire will simply have to find another world for testing." The guards raised their weapons. Jonah's neural link highlighted their positions, calculated trajectories, identified weaknesses. Time seemed to slow as decades of training and enhancement took over. "You know what your Empire's biggest mistake was, Admiral?" Jonah's voice was calm, almost conversational. "Enlighten me, Ghost." The use of his operative name was deliberate. They'd finally figured out who he really was. "You thought Earth sent a diplomat to die." Jonah's hand moved to his collar, where a simple diplomatic pin sat. "We sent a ghost to hunt." He triggered the pin. Every light in the laboratory complex exploded simultaneously as electromagnetic pulses ripped through the system. In the chaos that followed, only the security cameras, those that still functioned, caught glimpses of what happened next. A shadow moving faster than human eyes could track. The flash of monomolecular wires slicing through Imperial armor. The terrified screams of guards as their cybernetic enhancements turned against them. And at the center of it all, a figure that moved like death itself, proving why Earth's most dangerous operative had earned the name Ghost. The real war for humanity's survival was about to begin, and the Empire had just lost their greatest weapon before it could even be used. The Ghost was just getting started. Escalation. The aftermath of the laboratory battle looked like a scene from humanity's darkest war films. Imperial guards lay scattered across the floor, their advanced armor breached by weapons they'd never been designed to defend against. Emergency lights cast strobing shadows across the chaos, making the destruction seem to move and breathe. Jonah stood at the center of it all, his diplomatic attire now torn and stained with various alien fluids. The planet killer prototype had been successfully neutralized, its quantum core now a useless mass of collapsed probabilities. But the mission wasn't over. Not even close. Ghost to Earth Command, he sub-vocalized through his quantum recorder. Primary objective achieved. Planet killer neutralized. Admiral Zorth escaped during the confrontation. Request updated mission parameters. The response came instantly. Intel confirms Imperial fleet mobilizing. Multiple battle groups converging on Earth sector. Ghost, they're not stopping. Of course they weren't. The Empire had just lost their ultimate weapon and their pride in one devastating blow. Now they would resort to brute force, overwhelming numbers and conventional weapons. It would be a bloodbath. Unless someone stopped it from inside. Command, requesting authorization for Protocol Omega Black. There was a long pause. Omega Black was a scenario they'd planned for but hoped never to use. It would mean taking the fight directly to the Empire's leadership, turning their own command structure against them. Authorization granted, Ghost. May whatever gods exist have mercy on them. They'll need it, Jonah muttered, accessing the ship's secure networks through his neural link. The chaos he'd caused earlier had created countless backdoors into the system. Now it was time to use them. First priority, locate the Imperial High Council. Through the compromised security feeds, he tracked their movements after the laboratory attack. They'd been evacuated to a secure command center deep within the ship's armored core. Standard protocol would have them coordinating the fleet's movements from there. Perfect. Jonah moved through the ship like a virus through a bloodstream, using maintenance shafts and service corridors to avoid the main security cordons. His neural link kept him updated on troop movements, showing him where the Empire's forces were concentrating. They were learning, adapting their tactics. Security teams now moved in larger groups, their formations designed to counter single-operator tactics. They'd analyzed his fighting style from the laboratory footage and adjusted accordingly. Too bad he never used the same approach twice. A group of techs rounded a corner ahead, their arms full of repair equipment. They froze at the sight of him, their eyes widening in recognition. Before they could react, Jonah had already moved. A neural scrambler took down the first two. The third reached for an alarm panel but found his hand trapped in a monomolecular wire net. The command center, Jonah said quietly. Access codes. Now. The tech's multiple eyes blinked rapidly. I can't. The Council. Will kill you for failing them. Jonah leaned closer. I'll just knock you out. Choose. 5 minutes later, Jonah had what he needed. The tech lay unconscious but alive, which was more mercy than the Empire typically showed its enemies. The access codes would get him through the first layers of security around the command center. After that, things would get interesting. His neural link pinged with an alert. Admiral Zorth's voice was broadcasting across all command channels. This is an order to all Imperial forces. The human operative has proven more dangerous than anticipated. He is to be terminated on sight. I repeat, terminated on sight. The Council's safety is paramount. Jonah allowed himself a grim smile. They still didn't understand. The Council's safety wasn't paramount, it was precisely what he was counting on them prioritizing. The Empire's greatest weakness had always been its hierarchical nature. Cut off the head, and the body would flounder. They thought their layered security and overwhelming force made their leadership untouchable. They were about to learn otherwise. The access codes got him through the first checkpoint. The guards posted there never saw what hit them, neural scramblers took them down silently, efficiently. The second checkpoint fell to a combination of quantum viruses and well-placed monomolecular wires. But the third checkpoint, that's where things got complicated. Elite guards, cybernetically enhanced and equipped with the best weapons in the Empire's arsenal, stood between him and the command center. Beyond them lay the High Council, coordinating an invasion fleet that would reduce Earth to ashes. Time to show them why humanity had survived every attempt to conquer it. Jonah reached into his torn diplomatic jacket and removed his last quantum disruptor. One shot, engineered specifically for this moment. The Empire thought they knew everything about Earth's technological capabilities. They were wrong. The disruptor hummed to life, its core pulsing with energies that shouldn't exist according to Imperial physics. One of Earth's many secret projects, developed in hidden laboratories by scientists who understood that humanity's survival might one day depend on the impossible. Ghost to Earth command, he subvocalized. Beginning final approach. If this works, the Empire's entire command structure will be in chaos within the hour. If not. He paused. It's been an honor. The honor is ours, Ghost. Earth stands with you. Jonah took a deep breath, centering himself. The Empire had made a critical mistake in their calculations. They thought humanity was weak because we fought among ourselves, because we hadn't unified under a single banner like their member species. What they failed to understand was that humanity's greatest strength lay in that very chaos. We had evolved in conflict, learned to adapt, to survive. Each human was a potential weapon, a survivor, a warrior. And they had just cornered humanity's deadliest operative. With a thought through his neural link, Jonah triggered every security alert in the ship simultaneously. As alarms blared and systems crashed, he stepped out of cover, quantum disruptor raised. Time to show the Empire why you should never back a human into a corner. The real war was about to begin.